All right, we are live, and here we go. Three, two, one, go.
Oh yeah, it's Nintendo Nostalgia episode 128. Welcome back. Oh crap, let me do that again. What is it you usually say? Welcome to
It's
Nintendo
episode
Nostalgia
128.
episode. Okay.
128.
Okay.
We're back
All
and
right, I'm
playing
gonna
with
get in there with
power.
the Macho Man. We're back. We're playing with power. That's right. Okay. Welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia episode. Okay. Oh yeah, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia episode 128. We're back and we are playing with power. Oh yeah, a little wrestling power. Anyway, my name is Tom Qualls. So thank you so much for joining us. And today we have a super special show for you. And let me just introduce the co-host today. In the red corner, the one, the only, the Diddy to everyone's Donkey Kong, Jacob Rush.
Hey, hello, what's up?
All right. I don't know if Diddy to everyone's Donkey Kong. I was trying to think of a rare pun.
I might be
was
more of a
trying
Donkey Kong.
I was trying to stay away from making
Banjo?
jokes about it. Yeah, I didn't want to make fun of you for
The
always wanting
banjo?
banjo, so I decided
I
not
could
to.
be the Donkey or the Kong or the banjo. So
But his tag team partner, who's with him in every episode except last week because Jacob was sick, the one, the only, Mr. Metroid himself, Ryan Black.
oh,
Hey, glad to be here.
That's right. But just like any good wrestling match, we got a special guest referee. All right, for this match today, special guest referee. You guys know him. You love him. You haven't seen him in a long time. The one, the incredible, the perfect, Mr. Chris White.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to line them up tonight and I'm going to knock them down. Take that to the bank.
You can take that in. And that's the bottom line because Chris White said so.
That's right. What's up, Tom? Hey, Ryan,
What's up, buddy?
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Oh, welcome back, Chris. It's been way too long, man. Way too long.
It has been a while. It has been way too long. I agree.
This is our 2018 cast right here. All four of us. We all
right.
appeared a lot together last year, and honored and excited to have you back on, man. It's been too long. Good. How you been?
It's been good. It's been good. We had a baby in December, and that kind of spiraled into our 2019, and so it's been pretty much of a crazy year for us, but good, but very good. So
I feel you there with the new babies, so I understand.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys move recently too?
No. It's in the works. We're definitely out of space, but we haven't got there yet.
Nice. We moved and had a baby at the same time, so that's why my life was insane.
Yeah, still, we knew not to do both of those things at the same time, Jacob.
We're not as smart as you. Well, cool, guys. Well, I don't think we should waste any time. We have a big, fun, juicy episode here for tonight. So let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's get into what we have been radical Rexing about.
Brother.
All right, Chris. So since your first time back, man, why don't you start us off here? What's something exciting for you as of late?
I watch a lot of TV and movies. That's kind of where my space is. But my mind is still reeling from Endgame. So not talking. This is not a movie show, so I won't go into any great detail or not. But I've seen it twice. I'm planning on going next week and seeing it again. Nice. But yeah, it's absolutely. I was a shy kid. I grew up playing video games and reading comic books. Like that was my life.
Yeah.
And to be able to experience these bigger than life stories, these splash pages, of just amazing action with my kids. It's just been amazing. And so any game was everything it should have been. The finale of just an era. So it was great. And I think about I pre-ordered today. I don't know if I can spoil it. The other Gauntlet I pre-ordered today. It's out It's out in August, so I can't wait to
It's like a half spoiler.
Yeah, sorry. So anyway, so I'm excited. Still about Endgame, and that's every day. Me and my 12-year-old daughter, we end up getting into some sort of conversation about.
That's awesome.
Well, crap! I can't even tell you what we get into conversations
Yeah.
about. So anyway, it's been great. So that's been good. On the gaming front, I haven't really been playing a lot. It's been super busy, and to be able to sit down, I have a couple of games that I want to jump into, but they're very like time consuming, so I haven't really jumped in. What I have been playing is Baba Is You on the Switch, which I absolutely love, and it's very much you could play for 5 minutes or for 2 hours, just kind of whatever your time allows for, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of those puzzle games that you hit a brick wall regularly, and so you have to kind of take a step back. But it kind of fits my lifestyle. I'll play until I kind of hit a brick wall, and then I'm like, what, this is not time for this. So we'll walk away for a little while, and then we'll come back. So so that's been good. And that's it, man. I mean, I've been watching the Twilight Zone, which is fantastic.
Nice.
I have not seen that. I need to watch that.
Yeah, I love Jordan Peele. I love Twilight Zone. So it's been really good, and that's about it, man.
Neat. I can concur on the Endgame stuff. Best movie I've ever seen. Seriously.
Yeah, it's hard for it not to be, right? Like on its own merits, you probably couldn't say that, but it is building on the foundation of 22 amazing films and 10 years of continuity. It's hard for it not to be like I was, when we got out of the movie, I was talking to my daughter, and I was like, I don't know that in 10 years you're going to have the same experience. Can Marvel do it again? Possibly, but this is the first time in history anything like this has been, and they pay off so much in Endgame, like little nods to the elevator scene, and to the shield turn, and like all of these things just come full circle, and just to be able to do that and tell a cohesive story that not only satisfies but just really honors everything that came before it is it's a freaking unicorn, man. It's
great. It is.
Beautiful.
It is. I feel you same way. I don't know how they do it again.
Yes, Ryan, we know you won't see this until like the next.
I haven't seen Infinity War yet, so I'm.
What?
Oh my gosh!
Okay,
Ryan's barely seen like.
I'm caught up now, up to that point, so I just need to watch that and keep going.
Okay,
but
he just caught up. Yeah,
that makes me feel
better.
I watch it with my family, and we never get together to watch movies.
I see.
I almost grabbed a metal chair and drove to your house to smack.
That's right.
But
very appropriate for the episode.
Oh, trust me, I've been tempted many times to just play it up on Netflix, but I've held back.
Well, go watch Infinity War. It's fantastic.
I respect that you're doing it, for reasons. That's cool.
Yeah, totally. Well, Ryan, what about you, man? What are you radical correction about, brother?
Gosh, I don't know. I haven't had time to think about it. Like, this has been such a crazy week, as always. Like, work has just been, busy. I think I haven't even played that much video games, honestly. I haven't even touched my Switch since the last episode, I don't think.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
I've been doing like the Smash app, looking up stages and stuff, but I think that's about all Nintendo that I've done.
Nothing at all. Wow. You're not going to catch me in a Cuphead, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. No way.
That's right. I haven't talked to you since Cuphead came out. Okay.
No.
That's right.
Did you get Cuphead? Well, you probably already had it for your Xbox.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah, I played it when it came to a real system. But I'm glad that you get to enjoy it.
Yes, I'm glad I can enjoy it too. It's challenging, but it's challenging enough to where I feel okay to like, all right, you know what? I just need to sit this thing down. I'll come back to it next weekend or something. And that's kind of how I've been playing it,
Yeah, those are the best,
Totally. Tom, man, what about you? What are you radical correction about?
I'm still same stuff from last week. Talked about on the show. I'm still playing a ton of Final Fantasy X. I'm kind of getting more excited to finish it because I beat the game before, but I'm trying to play through it again because I haven't played 10-2, so I'm like really looking forward to, I want to get the whole continuity like moving all at once and not just jump back in. I try to remember the story, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm excited to get into that, and it's just been fun just playing that off and on. And then yesterday for Mother's Day, my wife's family came over for some ice cream, little Mother's Day ice cream fun there. And my nephew, I shared this in our Nintendo Nostalgia like kind of host chat there or whatever, but my nephew has been really, really, really into Donkey Kong Country Returns. Like he's really, really been into it, and apparently he was grounded all week because he was being mean to his sister. But he was grounded all week and couldn't play any video games all week. So he was super pumped to come to Uncle Tom's house because he knows that he's got all the games, and Mom and Dad said that he could play when he comes over. So he was super pumped, and he was like, "Do you have Donkey Kong Freeze?" That's what he calls it. You have Donkey Kong Freeze? And I'm like, I have it on my Wii U, but my Wii U's upstairs. I don't have it hooked up, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, he was like really disappointed. So
you bought it.
I went ahead and bought Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it's a great game. So
I love it.
So we got to play that. And while we were waiting for it to download, we played a bunch of the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, and was able to expose him to the glorious, glorious arcade days of beat 'em up action titles. So that was super fun to play with a 6-year-old who had never played anything like that before, and was surprisingly really good at it. And that was, I mean, you just got to move and punch stuff, so it's not too hard. But but it was great. So I mean, I'm kind of rexing about that. So now that I have Tropical Freeze chilling out, I'm like, well, I should probably jump back into that and mess with that some now. So, something else on my plate. I probably won't finish all summer. It's you know how it goes.
I will. So I will say this is the one thing that is commonly neglected about digital games, and I love digital games. But the idea of having a get together, having friends over, and then we're like, oh, you've never played that? Oh, you should totally try that. Oh, you know what? It's available now. Let's download and let's play. Just kind of that concept is something that I mean, in a different world, right? It's like, hey, we play Tropical Freeze. Well, I'm not gonna drive down to GameStop or Target.
Yeah, we can't leave
we
right
got
now.
Family here. We're not gonna do anything. So we'll just play this old one. But just a couple of clicks is like, okay, yep, we're playing.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened. But it was just what got me was his disappointment to, oh, okay. And it's like, okay, never mind. I'll get it. Okay,
I can make this better. That's right. Hey, look, everybody needs a superhero. So that's
Uncle Tom can fix this.
Yep. And now I'm looking forward to, since I have some days off in the summer, he's already planned what he's calling Uncle Time, where he's just going to come over for the day, and we're just going to play Donkey Kong. So
I love it. That warms my heart, Tom. You know that.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting.
You're doing the Lord's work, Tom. Doing the Lord's work.
I am trying.
You are spreading the word of Kong there. I love it.
I know Jacob would be happy about that. Yeah.
Well, myself, I have really. I'm just kind of getting excited. We're getting to the E3 season, so prediction episodes are starting to come out. People are starting to talk more. So it's just fun to just listen into what others are saying, and because we always wait for our E3 episode till right before E3 to do it. So I've been like trying to collect my thoughts. What's realistic? What's really reaching? And what seems like it's reaching, but really could actually happen.
Hang on, has that ever stopped you from just reaching though? Has that ever really stopped you? Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I'm excited. I've been planning in my head what will my list be this year, and just thinking of it in general. I'm excited about. I think Nintendo's just going to do something a little different this year that maybe we don't realize yet. But who knows?
I think they're going to be on stage with Microsoft.
I cannot disagree with you, to be honest.
That probably could happen. Yes.
Did you guys see that Netflix is showing up to E3?
I did.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Does that mean we're going to get that rumored Zelda Netflix show now?
It's kicked back up again. Like that rumor mill's kind of kicked back up the last week again. So
yeah,
I mean, maybe.
Wow, that would be.
I mean, look, at this point, there's a lot of hesitation about putting Zelda in any sort of medium outside of a game, especially giving him a voice. But I mean, honestly, he could sound like Gilbert Gottfried and still be better than the Sonic trailer. You know what I mean? Let's just do it.
That's a harsh example, but you might be right.
How would you feel about a real life, like Legend of Zelda? But who do you think they'd get to play Tingle?
Oh man,
I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be like Ray Romano.
Ray Romano. Oh my gosh.
There you go, Golupa.
Wow. Who knows? We'll see. Netflix combined with Nintendo, though, would be very interesting because Netflix, they kind of, I don't know, they're kind of known for just letting anything happen in their shows, whereas Nintendo's a very conservative company, especially with their IPs. I wonder how it would mesh well together with what they would allow.
But man, they're loosening up though, man.
They are. I was going to say the same thing. Like, we're dealing with a new Nintendo here. We really are.
Yeah, I mean, you got Starlink, you got Mario plus Rabbids. You're doing a Mario movie and Super Mario Land at Universal. Like,
Xbox Live is coming to Switch. Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Now, what if they come out and just announce something similar to what Netflix did with the Marvel shows, and that they announce like a shared universe with like 4 different Nintendo properties?
Stop,
dude! Come on,
you're gonna make me cry.
They're about to lose. Think about this though. Think about this.
The Smash Bros. Initiative.
In what, September? They're losing everything Disney.
Yeah,
that's true.
Marvel, Star Wars
That's
is
true.
all gone. Fox now all gone. So they have to have something big to continue. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, if they announced about like a Nintendo Universe series, dude,
that'd be the way to go.
Freaking mind.
That would be the way to go.
I think honestly. I would. Yes.
Look into gaming for sure. But yeah, so I've just been excited about E3 talk and and just because it's coming up, So in general, though, nothing crazy news happened with me. I guess yesterday for Mother's Day, we dedicated our son, so that was cool, and that was a fun, proud moment there. It was a funny story. I don't know if you guys saw my post on Facebook, but
I did. You Simba'd him. It was pretty great.
I did. We were the only. I didn't know. We're like all the rest of the families that had their children dedicated did it during first service, and we came in second. So we were the only family there, and then our pastor's is like, because we were like right dead center, all the spotlights were on us. He's like, and everyone just welcome Jack, and congratulating him into, this walk of faith. And then I just saw the moment, and I just put my arms up and held it.
But you sang too, right? You
I didn't sing, but I got the crowd to laugh. I should have hit a note.
Yeah. He put some weird goo on his forehead too. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it'd be incredibly racist for you to sing it, but it would still been hilarious.
I wish I could have had pre-planned that, and something would have come up on the screens or around us at church or whatever.
Just Pride Rock back there.
We spent some time in the hospital with the new baby, and anytime they would come change the sheets, I would just hold the baby up above the bed because she was attached to cords and stuff, and every single time I would very very racially sing the Lion King song, hoping that nobody murdered me while I was sleeping. So yeah, I get it.
But yeah, it was fun. I got a lot of laughs. I did hear the congregation laugh when I did that. That was great.
Yeah, it turned out great.
Cool. Funny. Well, other than that, that's about it, guys. Guys, we have a big topic to talk about today. It is brought to you by Chris and Tom. These guys are professionals from this field, and I have some dabbering in it myself. I don't know how much Ryan has had, but I can promise you I'm not as in-depth dabbering as Chris and Tom here. So we're going to get into it, guys. Today, it's going to be really focused all about the Nintendo 64 era of wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm so excited.
Oh, yes. That's right.
Well, let's get into it.
If you smell.
It's good. So where are we going to start?
Anyone want a peanut?
Anybody want a peanut? Now, that's some old school wrestling right there. I don't know if the N64 era covers that. But there is a giant in these games. We might talk about that.
The giant who became the Big Show, correct?
The Big Show. Yep.
Big Show.
All right. I don't want to sing everyone's theme song because it might happen, guys. I'm sorry. I just might bust out in theme song.
If you don't, I'm going to be very disappointed. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, can we go round robin and see who played what games?
Yeah,
sure. We were talking about this before we went on. So there were 4 games. So the first one was WCW versus NWO World Tour. Then there was WCW versus NWO Revenge, and then they switched to WWF. And so there was WWF Wrestling 2K or 2000.
A heel turn, if you will.
But listen, the cool kids, of course, all called it 2K. And then WWF No Mercy with the sweet as crap black card. So those were the 4 games that we're really going to kind of focus on because they're the only games that matter, and no wrestling game since has ever been worth playing.
I agree.
just that being said, I owned and played all 4, so I'll start.
Nice.
Tell me what about you? Did you play all of them?
I played mostly the WCW NWO ones, just because that's what was around, and we played a bunch during that time. Although I was still very appreciative of 2K and No Mercy, I just didn't play them for whatever reason, just by proximity.
That's fair enough.
Plus, I wasn't really into wrestling at the time. But I am now super into wrestling and regret that I did not play them.
That's funny because I'm like not into wrestling at all now, but I was super into it back in the 90s when these games came out.
We are the inverse.
Ryan,
then.
What about you, Ryan? Did you play any of these games?
I am going into this completely blind. I've never played a wrestling game in my life.
What?
Tommy, Chris, you have that metal chair ready?
Yep. There it is.
Bro, I'm Googling how to get to Ryan's house right now. So
Chris,
it's gonna take me.
Chris, get the table.
When I get there, I'm gonna be hopped up mad.
Oh yeah.
Ryan turns around at the end of the show and bam.
No, it's
metal chair.
Like Ryan wakes up in the morning to get coffee, and I'm sitting outside of his window, being like, "Let me in."
Yep.
I fully expect a people's elbow.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Choke slam.
Did you play?
So, the only one I ever really dabbled in with was WrestleMania 2000, and it was in a black cartridge with had like green wording on it.
Yeah.
This was the era where my brother, my third oldest brother, Adam, really was into wrestling and WWF, and he like was getting me into it, and we'd watch it every Thursday night together, and he loved the Rock. I mean, the Rock was by far his favorite, and he got this game. Yep. Yeah. So he basically
most electrifying performer in sports entertainment.
My brother basically, he was kind of the forefront into this whole era because it wasn't even my game. It was his game that he bought because we all shared the 64, but that was his game. And I just remember playing it a lot with him. I was probably never as good as he was at it for how young I was. But no, I do have good fond memories of it and how you could create your own characters in it and put your own move sets together in the game. It was really fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's the only one I really have experience with, but from the time I did have it was really fun because it was just a small niche time in my life where every Thursday was wrestling.
It's time to watch SmackDown. Oh yeah,
man.
The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all those guys I remember. Kane and The Undertaker.
Kane and Abel.
No, not Kane and Abel. No. The dead man.
Okay.
Come on.
So So real quick, one more question before we jump in here,
sure.
Because you're mentioning all WWF people now. WWE. So preference between companies. So Jake, it sounds like you're a WWF guy.
That's basically what I was born and raised on when I got into
Ryan, do you have a dog in this hunt, Ryan, or do you even know what wrestling is? Ryan, do you even know where you are right now? I need to check on Ryan.
Yeah, is Ryan okay?
So I only caught whiffs of wrestling through my friends in middle school. I may have caught a couple of scenes here or there. I watched the Hell in the Cell, the second match. Watched a documentary on that and how intense that was. I was like, wow, man, that stuff does get pretty serious. I thought it was all just a joke and for show, and a lot of it is for show. But man, it gets you really hyped. I'm like, I can actually get into this. I can actually like this.
Oh yeah.
I know my wife is like big into like the Japanese wrestlers, and they get a little bit more brutal.
They're strong style, baby.
Stuff, but
so you're a WWF guy. Tom, where are you at, man?
So at the time, again, I wasn't really watching wrestling. I wasn't allowed to, but I could play the games for whatever reason. But but at the time, I didn't really
recall that Bible logic.
Yes, exactly. So at the time, I looking back on it now, I would say I'm definitely right now a WWF guy or a WWE guy, but the NWO storyline in WCW is super good. I love that stuff.
It's the best.
Oh yeah.
So look, I'll be completely honest. All of my friends that played games in the 90s, the late 90s, were all N64 people. They were all SNES people. We didn't have none of these idiots that had Sega systems. We didn't hang out with those morons. So
wise men.
Our console war was not about Sega versus Nintendo. Our console war was about WCW versus WWF.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, in the late '90s, it was violent.
The Monday Night Wars, dude. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, it was so good. So I actually fall more on the WCW side, primarily because of Sting, my favorite wrestler of all time.
Sting is so good.
So that's kind of where I come down on that. I felt like we need to have like some groundwork so I can know how much I need to yell at you guys while we're going through.
So let me ask, like, maybe of different eras, what are your favorite like wrestlers, your go-tos, like your ones you cheered on?
During this era?
Yes, during this era.
Okay. Again, mine's all retroactive a little bit, but I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think, is one of the greats. And a guy that's in both games, all right, both sides, he plays this, and I honestly believe, and Chris may disagree with me, that's fine, might be the greatest wrestler of all time, Chris Jericho.
Flair.
No, Chris Jericho.
Come on.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah, Jericho's great. So Jericho started, WCW. He was fantastic. I love Chris Jericho. And I loved his intro into WWF because he came in so cocky.
Oh yeah,
it was great.
Break the walls down.
Oh yes, I remember that.
That's him.
Chris Jericho was great.
Walls down.
There was quite a bit more than people probably think of crossover. We had like Bret Hart came over. I dug Bret Hart. Again, Sting was my favorite. When I grew up watching with my uncle, and I was a big Ric Flair fan, Four Horsemen fan,
Woo!
and Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, and then Sting, Sting, of course, Sting and Ultimate Warrior, face paint guys, they were big in like the late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah.
And so, I really kind of dug them. And then Sting got hurt and he was gone for a while, right?
A long time,
and that was the whole transition in NWO, which still to me is probably the greatest storyline that I've experienced
in wrestling. Period. Yes.
It was just so good when Hogan comes out and wins and then spray paints NWO on the World Championship.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. So.
They're taking over.
But then, So then Sting came back. Sting came back with this crow. So black and white face paint, long trench coat, baseball bat, and he would drop down from the rafters and just smack the crap out of people with his bat. Oh my gosh,
dude!
He just spent like a year just haunting the crap out of the NWO.
He didn't do anything. Good. There were shows where he would just sit in the rafters, like in the stadiums, just be in the rafters and stare at people, and it was the most intimidating thing in the world.
He was just the best, and then it all led to Starrcade 1999, which put Hogan and Sting in the ring for the world title, and it was the last pay-per-view that I saw.
I gotta watch that match,
my guys.
Dude.
It was just it was just so good. So it ended up. I think that they ended up. If I remember correctly, it's been a long time, but I want to say the referee got knocked out, and Sting put Sting put Hogan in the death lock.
Yeah.
And Hogan tapped out, and so Sting thought it was over, so he let go.
Yep.
But the referee was, and then Hogan knocked him out, and they got the pin, and they got the win. But then Sting came back the next night on Monday night and won the title fair and square on Monday night. So oh my gosh, so good.
This era of wrestling was so good.
It was the best. Yeah. So
it was so dumb,
Sting
but it was so good.
Sting for me is the best. Always will be. I like Jericho. I like Diamond Dallas Page. He had a pretty cool run. Macho Man. I like a lot of the late '80s, early '90s guys. So Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, like those guys are great. But
Mr.
I mean, Sting for me is the ultimate. So.
Yeah, I also enjoy. I know when a lot of people don't like to talk about him, it seems to be dirty, but his in-ring work is so good, and that's Chris Benoit. He was on both.
Oh also. Man, he was so good. Yeah,
he was awesome.
Yeah. He actually he was a horseman, so he right towards the
end. At the end. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was him, Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, and then Benoit were the four horsemen. Yeah, it's a good group.
Outstanding. Guys, we don't want to turn this into wrestling talk.
Jacob, do you have any favorites?
We haven't even talked about a video game yet.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry, my bad.
Favorite wise, when I can think back to this era, I always remember I really liked Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, mainly because my brother was into The Rock, and I mean look at who he is today. I mean, wow.
I'm raising my eyebrow right now.
Yes, the eyebrow raise. It's funny how much massive he is compared to what he even used to be back then. But Yeah, I would say Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock were my favorites. You know, I always recognized Triple H, but you know, he was like a villain in the show. You know, he was like Vegeta's. He was like the Vegeta to The Rock. You know,
he was always the bad guy.
Like if The Rock was Goku, he was Vegeta. That's what it was to me. You know. Who was the guy that interrupted towards the end? This is when I started to fizzle out, but was it maybe Brock Lesnar? He was like, this massive pit bull dog.
He's past this era, but yeah, he's dun 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 dun.
I just remember him coming in and wrecking all your favorites up.
Absolutely,
there.
Dude. I don't want to get into it. We're off subject now, but one time he superplexed the Big Show off the top rope and broke the ring, and I watched it. I watched it live on TV with my brother. Which again, we're not allowed to watch wrestling, so we are screaming in silence, like, "Oh my goodness! Did you see that?"
That's awesome. Very nice. Guys, Nintendo Nostalgia has turned into WrestleMania Nostalgia.
It has turned into a wrestling nostalgia.
So one more. So when WWE was starting to slide, ratings were starting to tank. You know, between The Rock and Stone Cold, WWF like just shot up. But so one last grab, they brought in Goldberg.
Oh yeah.
And Goldberg was just he was classic, man. He's just black, tights, and that's it. Just bald head, black tights, and stuff.
Yeah.
He would spear people, and then he would do just the straight up and down, like body slam.
The jackhammer, dude.
Oh my gosh, he was undefeated, and he was just a freaking beast.
So wrestlers always have gimmicks, and Goldberg's gimmick was he's Goldberg. He beats you. That was his gimmick.
He doesn't need flashy paint or costume.
The man has security to walk into the ring because they're afraid he's going to kill somebody on the way there, and then he walks through sparks. Like his body is bathed in sparks. And he just walks through it like it doesn't hurt. I get at 4th of July, I get a sparkler and it gets on my arm, and I'm like,
yeah.
Goldberg walks through them and he breathes them, like he breathes smoke out afterwards. That's insane.
Oh,
that's Goldberg.
About that.
He's like a legend, isn't he?
He is absolutely a legend. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
you guys touched on
so wound up.
You guys touched on the ones that I like for the most part. Before I knew anything about wrestling or anything, I was always intrigued by the black and white of Sting's face paint. And then I was always just like, cheering on Hulk Hogan all the time. Yeah, like, man. I didn't know anything about wrestling, but I knew he was the guy I was going to cheer on. Even so much went as far as watch his Christmas movie, Santa Claus with Muscles. Don't see it, please. It's awful. It's probably the worst Christmas movie ever.
Say what you will about Hogan, but Hogan to this day is still one of the best performers in the ring, man. He knows how to amp up. Come on, man. He knows how to amp up a crowd.
He's so vanilla.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
By the way, Suburban Commando is better. Just gonna throw that out there.
I want to throw an honorable mention though. I really always liked Kane and the Undertaker because weren't they like brothers?
They were brothers. Yes.
Sure. Yes.
They were brothers in the show, at least from what I understood back then. I always thought that was cool, and Kane always had like the red and black face paint, so he was really intimidating.
Well, no, he wore a mask. So wait a second. So they at some point he lost that, right?
Yes. Yes, he did.
And he's ugly. He looks like somebody beat him with like a shovel.
Yes. Yes.
And so they thought the best move for that guy was to take his mask off.
Yes.
But he doesn't wear it anymore, right?
No, because he's the mayor. He's the mayor of a town in Tennessee somewhere right now. Seriously,
really?
I'm dead serious. Yes.
My bad. Okay.
It might not be Tennessee, but he won an election.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. Yeah.
But I agree with you, Jake. When he first came out with that sweet, it was like a red hockey mask.
Yeah.
And it was
with hair on it, which was weird.
Yeah.
Him and the Undertaker, they were just like an intimidating force. Like they were they were really scary. Yeah, they brought intimidation.
Now, Undertaker went through the transformation where for a long time he was the dead guy.
Yeah,
with the eyeballs and everything. But then like in the early 2000s, he switched over to this like motorcycle riding Leonard Skinner playing kind of guy, right?
No, not Leonard Skinner. Limp Bizkit.
Limp
Oh,
Bizkit, baby.
Oh yeah, he
Yes.
came into rolling. He did. It was the
And he come
worst
with
thing
like
ever.
a motorcycle. He'd
Yes.
ride it with a motorcycle.
He would write it down.
Yeah. It was kind
Oh
of weird, but
you guys,
Roll,
we've spent a solid yeah. We
I
got like
remember.
a solid 15 minutes of just gushing about wrestling.
sorry, yeah, we need to talk about video.
Well,
We should
let's
talk
get
about
into the
the games,
games now. Yeah, let's bring up
talk
why
about
are
the
these games so good? We've had wrestling
of
games
wrestling.
before this, we've had wrestling games after this, and they've all paled in comparison to this era.
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
Absolutely. That is Bible truth, and if you don't like that, you can unsubscribe.
Yep.
Please
don't do that, but you can unfollow me on Twitter.
There you go.
Yep. Same.
Well, Tom, I'll let you go first. Why do you like them? Like,
well, there's one reason only, and that is the developer, Aki Systems. That to me, it's that's why we mentioned 4 games. There are other wrestling games on the N64. There are, but we mentioned there's only 4 because they're the only 4 made by Aki, because they're the only company who knows how to make a wrestling game. It's outstanding. Hallelujah. It's outstanding. The controls, I don't know how much we're going to get in the detail of this, but like the controls, it's like an infinite amount of stuff you can do to like you can write your own matches. You know, it felt like you were making a wrestling match, and then the taunts and the special moves, it was so easy to do.
Yeah. Yes.
Man, Aki, they're the best.
It was good. Yeah. So I, been preparing for this. I tried to quantify like what it was, because even to this day, every now and then I will try like one of the new WWE games that come out. Yeah. And I literally just want to stick my hands in kerosene and light them on fire when I play these games, because they're just total garbage.
Agreed. Why are they bad?
They just don't click. It's not for me. But then that led me back to why was it these games? And for me, and I think Tom kind of hit on it. It was the fact that it felt like you were simulating like a wrestling match, where it felt very, very much choreographed. You could throw a person out of the ring, go pick up a chair out of the thing, smack them with a chair. They would start bleeding. While they're on the ground, you could taunt and start getting your special, and then your special would stay until you get them right in the center of the ring. And then almost always, especially if you had their stamina down, you hit your special, and it was you were going to win. It was either a pinfall, or you were doing your submission and they were going to give up, or it was just a TKO. And it just felt like, and then and as they progress, you had like people would come in from the back and like interrupt your fight.
Oh yeah.
Like it just felt, to me, it felt like you were playing wrestling.
Absolutely. And if you had a favorite wrestler like we were talking about, and how those guys perform, it was nothing to act like them. It was so easy to do. Like if I'm playing Macho Man and I got my special up, I'm going to the top rope, baby. See you, sucker.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna elbow drop you to death, because that's what Macho Man does. Yeah. And like you intuitively know how to play the character because you just do what they do. And like
and not even just the gameplay, like the actual combat, but you have, like, for instance, Sting. When Sting would get ready to do the Stinger Splash, he would throw a person into the turnbuckle, and then he would turn around, jump on the turnbuckle, and he'd go woo out to the crowd. And if you face the turnbuckle and hit the taunt button, he would jump on the rope and he would do it like exactly like he would on the show. And right, like wrestling itself is a soap opera that's built that's built along the idea of these characters are just caricatures, right? These people are, Macho Man's going to come out. He's going to say, "Oh yeah." He's going to wear, flashy purple and pink, outfits. Sting's going to stay on the rope and he's going to do his thing. Hogan's going to come out and rip his shirt. Like, The Rock's going to raise his eyebrow. Like it's all choreographed by these characters are defined by what they do, and you were able to do that. Like the game incorporated all of that in the exact same way that they would do it as you were watching the show.
Yep.
Oh, so absolutely. Good. Oh, so good.
I mean, that's
going to play it.
That's great.
Can we just play right now?
That's a great attention to detail on that.
Oh yeah.
Like to know that they had that. I think I even remember. I always remember. It's always cool and funny when like the wrestlers would get on to where the announcers are talking on the show and like they would like just body slam on their table and stuff. You could do that real thing in the game.
Yeah. I always loved when because you could in the I think in the WWF ones, I don't think you could do it in the WCW ones, but
you couldn't do it in the
WWF ones,
WCW.
you could actually go under the ring and pull out like a table.
Yes,
like it would just
I remember that.
appear, and then you could push it into the ring,
Yep.
get in the ring, stand the thing up, and then do a suplex through it. I mean, come on.
Yep.
You know, they had ladder matches. I mean, it was just great, you know. And it just everything felt tactile. Like it felt like when you push a button, you did the thing that you were supposed to do.
And that's part of their control scheme is like they had weak and strong versions of like grapples and strikes, and you did them by how hard you press the button, which is like something that everyone thinks mattered, but it never did. But it does matter in this game. So like if you tap a button, it's a weak grab or a weak strike. But if you smash and hold that button, it's a strong grab or a strong strike. And and it just adds that depth of, you know, oh, I grabbed him from behind with a strong grapple. Now I'm going to hit B, and now I'm going to put him up in a Boston Crab and watch him squirm for 5 minutes, you know?
Yeah. No, to me, like, to put it into a different genre, right? For me, it's like comparing Crash Bandicoot to Mario 64. Right, and that Crash at the time, right? Crash probably graphically looked better. They were going for like a more stylized visual, more stuff kind of going on, but it just played like total garbage, and everything felt delayed. Whereas you play Mario 64, as soon as you tap the joystick, he starts moving. It just and that's how it felt with the wrestling games. The wrestling games were very much. It felt like it was just very tactile. Every time you pushed a button, what your guy was supposed to do, he did without question every single time. And it was until you jacked the controller out of the 64 because you were moving it so much. That's a whole different issue. But then you have to scream at the guy that's playing to pause it, and then he doesn't pause it because he knows that you're better, you know, than you, Steve. I'm talking about you, Steve. And so you pause the game so you can plug your controller back up. Anyway,
was there story modes to these games? Was it just free matches and tournaments, or how are the games all set up? What are the modes?
At least for the WCW ones, basically you could choose a belt and chase that belt. So like you would just almost Mortal Kombat style, just play through a series of competitors until you got to like the championship belt, and then you win the belt, and that's cool. Then maybe do some defenses, and that's about it. But the WCW ones are fun like that, and I just always loved taking the most ridiculous character, like, oh, I'm gonna make Disco Inferno the Intercontinental Champ, like, or the World Champion. I'm just gonna do that because you can do that with the controls. It's so easy and so fun. So I'm like, okay, Disco Inferno, World Champ, let's do it.
I love it. With the WWF games, they did add a story mode where you basically played a season out, and so you would have cards, and so you'd show up on I forget all their show names, right? But you'd be on like Heat, and then you'd be on Raw, and then you do SmackDown or whatever. Because like it was Sunday Night Heat was like where you would start because it was like where the rookies would play or something like that, and then you would kind of evolve up. But here's the thing. So this is what I want to. This is why this game is cemented for me, just kind of literally in the pantheon of my gaming, you know, experience. This game is probably like a top 10 game for me, and this is why. When I went to college in 1999, and so this I know. So I took WrestleMania with me, but during my first year at college, No Mercy came out.
Okay.
Right. So so I get No Mercy, and No Mercy, all of the games had variations of creation modes, right? Creative players, you could add your own moves, you can create your own introduction. You could eventually, create. I believe it was even maybe the last WCW game, but you could create like groups. So like on the character select, you could be like, the Four Horsemen. You could drop them in there, and then you go there. Oh, this is the NWO, and you could drop them in there, whatever the case is. But in No Mercy specifically, they added the ability to let you create a title. And then create a pay-per-view.
Awesome. Oh my gosh.
So my college experience was we would have a weekly game night where we would all have our own characters. We would
build
build a pay-per-view card out. We'd create our own belt. And this was the coolest thing about No Mercy, is that your character would retain the belt. So if I'm playing as Sting and I win the world championship, well, now in the universe of the game, I don't know how they did this, but Sting is the world champion. And every time he walked to the ring, he would be wearing the belt. And you could choose to either wear it around your waist like you're supposed to, or you could strap it over your shoulder if you want to be cocky about it. And you could select anybody in the group to come with you, like to the ring. So you could have like one of the babes or whatever they call the divas or whoever have they could, or you could have like one of the managers were there or whatever. You could just customize it however you wanted. And we would literally fight. Man. You know, we would have a group of maybe 12 to 15 guys in the dorm room around the TV, and we would just be playing wrestling for like 2 hours, and we would be doing this pay-per-view, and it was literally the greatest thing. And what ruined it was freaking Halo. Halo. As soon as Halo came,
you're right. You're right.
Wrestling with me, but
you're absolutely right.
There was this one semester in the beginning of 2001 where we played No Mercy non-stop, and it was just the coolest thing. And we would create all of our instructors. So like the instructors that we didn't like, we would create them. We put them like in big Royal Rumble so we could smack the crap out of them.
Awesome.
I'm telling you, it was just the greatest. So good.
So you mentioned a second right there is definitely where my nostalgia is for this. So me, it was all about sleepovers, right? So I'm in high school, so I'm not that much younger than Chris, but so I'm in high school. So, but it's all about sleepovers, right? So we're playing GoldenEye, we're playing all these other stuff. But dude, as soon as WCW NWO Revenge came out, it was all about one thing: pick a dude, and we just ran Royal Rumbles, or I guess for WCW they're called Battle Royales, right?
Battle Royales, yeah.
Yeah, how about that, you Fortnite weenies? I've been doing this for years, right? So anyway, the
shots fired.
Yeah, exactly. So
speaking of, that's what we need. What,
dude,
you're
right.
They should come back and do a free-to-play
Royal Rumble. Oh my gosh,
wrestling game where
you're absolutely
99 wrestlers, and you get randomized when
Holy
you drop
crap.
in. Last one wins.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
Let's do this. You got to cut this out of the podcast. I'm emailing them after we get done. You gotta do
Man, dude, but that's what we would do. We would on that one on Revenge, you would just set it to 40 entrants, right? And the way it works is if someone gets eliminated, well, then you just come in as whoever the next guy is.
Person. That's right.
Oh, so it's like that's how I fell in love with Disco Inferno, because I won a Royal Rumble with my friends with Disco Inferno, and they're like, "How is Disco Inferno the winner?" And I'm like, he came in at number 40. I happened to spawn in. I don't know what to tell you. It's all random, and it's so good. And I think there's 67 wrestlers or something like that.
And they would retain like the damage, right? So I remember, again, Sting was my guy, so I always play as Sting. And if you tapped his light kick button, he would just do this like little side kick where you kick your shin, and I would just kick their shin over and over all match long. And eventually they
take body damage,
because it's got to be a Scorpion Deathlocker or go home. You know what I mean? It was like, this is how you have to win this match, and so you just keep shin kicking that guy till he's ready to go down.
Yep. And then your submission worked better if their legs were weaker.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just, there's nothing better in that game than working over the match, getting the crowd on your side, pulling off your special, and getting a 3 count. Like it's or a tap out, whatever your finish is. So man, so good. I just want to play. Like that's all.
Both of us listen to us.
Okay, so just a little insight. So I was a poor college kid. So in order for me to upgrade to the next thing, I always had to get rid of the thing before.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So up until I became a responsible adult, like that was my life. So my SNES went towards my 64. My 64 went towards my GameCube. I don't have any of that stuff anymore. And so like, why can't I buy that? Take the names off. I don't even care. Just give me the tools to build my own characters and play.
I agree.
The other thing that was great was when with the NWO games is you could put NWO shirt on anybody. So you can set it up where it's like, oh my gosh, and now Ric Flair's joined the NWO and he's going down with it was just the best. Man. It was just the best.
So I want to know why. I know Halo. You said Halo, kind of ruined the tide of this. But why did wrestling games start to suck? Like, why do they suck today? Why did the latest one on the Switch? Why was that trash? You know, like, what's the problem now?
I blame Ukes. It's a it's a licensing issue, right?
Yeah.
And so they became so the last one that they did as far as like wrestling. We'll talk about Def Jam Vendetta in a second, I guess. But the last wrestling like WWE or WWF game they did was No Mercy, and then the next wrestling game you could see that they were trying to. I think it may have a lot to do with like generational gaps, and they're like, okay, we're in a new generation, we need to make this bigger, prettier, splashier, and so I just think it's one of the things that companies do. I think in general is that we've got to take this, we've got to evolve this franchise, and there is something to be said for that, right? You don't want the thing. Yeah. No, maybe you do. I don't want to say that because I would still be playing WWF WrestleMania 2000. What are we in 19? This year
that's true.
It came out. Like I would still do it, but the average consumer probably wouldn't. So they have to evolve and they have to see some things change. So I think that was kind of what it was. I think the graphics were changing. We had the powerhouse of the Xbox, definitely entered into the realm. You had PS2 and the GameCube, much stronger systems, and so I think that they were just like, okay, how can we make this on par? Because I will say this about the games, and it never bothered me, but they are very pixelated games. Like all of those games are.
They are very 64.
One of the great things about, especially the early ones, is like when you would do an arm bar or whatever. Every now and then you would see the arm like pull away from the body. And you could see a space in between.
The polygon was just detached.
So like I get that concept, but this goes back to the problem that I have even now, like today playing wrestling games, like I said, every now and then I'll jump in and try and play one. It goes back to that idea that they don't feel tactile to me.
They're not intuitive.
It feels like they move like you're underwater. Like even just like walking around the ring, it kind of feels like you're. It just doesn't feel tactile, and I don't enjoy the feel of playing them. And that ultimately gameplay for me is king. And ultimately, I don't care what the game looks like. If it plays well, I will play it. And if it plays like garbage, like it's just I don't want it.
Play it.
Yeah, and it's to me, like I said, the big reason I think they're just not as good anymore. It had to do with Aki's approach to it. That no one picked up on that. Like even if someone would have knocked that off, like even if they'd have been like, "Wow, that's good. I'm gonna start making wrestling games like that."
Yeah, I mean, how many clones?
No one did
everything. Come on.
Yeah.
How many battle royale games do we have?
For real, like
just make a freaking game. Come on.
So, well, that's what's killing me, right? So they kind of do that, and that's one reason I don't think it's as good in that regard. But then, of course, Aki moved on, like Chris was saying, and yeah, they moved on to big hits like Def Jam Vendetta. All right, if you don't remember that.
Hang on a second. Did you play Def Jam?
I did a little bit actually. It's not bad.
So here's the thing about Def Jam. Def Jam is total garbage, like visually and audibly, like the music. It's just not my style of music. Yeah. But as soon as they say go and you start fighting, it's
intuitive.
It's the game. It's the wrestling. It's the exact same thing, and it's a ton of fun to play.
So, well, and they also, I looked up kind of what happened to Aki, right? Kind of moving through the years.
Did they go to like a mobile space or something?
So, yeah, we'll get to that. But so after Def Jam, they actually had one game, another wrestling game that I played, and I remember playing, and it wasn't bad, but it was stupid. And that was Ultimate Muscle, Legends versus New Generation, which is based off the Kamiko Man anime and manga. Yeah. So they made an Ultimate Muscle game.
What was that? What was that on?
That was on GameCube. That was a GameCube exclusive.
I missed that one. Oh,
so, but they end up making. Hang on, I got it in front of me. Let's see. After that, they made another Def Jam, Fight for New York, and then they made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more Ultimate Muscle games, Japan only.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Japan.
So, yep. And then, but their last swan song, because what happened is they did a whole rebranding. They became something else. Their last game they ever made was Ready to Rumble Revolution for the Wii. And that's such a sad end to such a great company.
Yeah, that's sad.
But To me, it's because Aki's gone. That's why I don't.
I agree.
That's why I don't think wrestling games are there. But again, all someone has to do is just copy that their control style, because it is. You mentioned would a consumer buy something? Listen, I'm still buying Smash Brothers games and loving them. All they do is they just change a little bit, and it's awesome.
True.
So I mean, the controls are basically the same. You do smash attacks, you got tilt attacks. It's all the same,
right?
But we've just updated it into different things. I don't see why there couldn't be one of these new wrestling games that play just like these Aki games on the Switch tomorrow. There's no reason I don't think that could exist.
And you got, and I'm not a developer, obviously, but
right?
I mean, you gotta imagine that it's not. It can't be as difficult as it is to do the games they do now with like all the reversals and like the intricate systems that they use. You've got to imagine something like what Aki did is a much easier process to do. But dude, you know what I'm playing right now? I'm playing Wargroove. Wargroove is amazing.
Yeah.
And you know why I'm playing it?
Because it's Advance Wars.
Won't make Advance Wars, right?
Exactly.
So just, I mean, come on, somebody just please. I'm asking somebody, please make this game. I will pay for it. I will play it. I want to play.
Just make me an Aki wrestling game, just please.
That's right.
I would even argue. I think a lot of sports games over times have kind of gone that same route. Like, I don't play them much today, but like. I would even argue games like Madden are no longer very good today than what they were back in the early 2000s, where I feel like
last time they made a stride,
hit their stride and were really fun, and I really enjoyed buying it and playing through the season. And now it's doesn't feel the same. Kind of like you said, the characters, the players, they feel like they're underwater. I remember playing a Madden game in recent times, and I got the ball and I was running, and I just felt so sluggish. I'm just like, they didn't move well as opposed to the older games. So I don't even feel like it's just wrestling. That's my point.
And I think see in kind of what I was getting at, I think that we get into this thing where we're trying to cross the uncanny valley, right? We want Madden to feel as close to being a real football player as humanly possible. Right. Mm-hmm. And that means that you can't just turn on a dime and jump out of somebody's way, even though that would be amazing. But you can't. But also, guys, guess what? I don't play football because I'm a chubby white guy, a middle-aged white guy that that has a family. So I don't play professional football, right? I play a game to have fun. I don't want to feel what it's like to be a real football player. And I think I think that's kind of and it's not even sports. I mean, I just think games in general are they evolve as technology evolves to be more realistic, kind of more simulation onto what you're doing. I mean, something even as a game like Red Dead Redemption, right? I mean, you play a game like that, and it's so realistic in what they've tried to do. Like, the horses, you're standing by a horse, and it will just take a poop while you're there because real horses do that, right?
They poop. It turns out,
they poop. It's just like whatever. They're trying to make this living, breathing world that feels like it's real, but there's just something nostalgic about picking up a game that just plays fun. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to question, could that guy really jump through those ropes? Probably not. But it doesn't matter because it's a computer, wrestling game. Like it doesn't really matter because is there really a table under every single ring that you play in? Probably not.
Who cares?
No, but
who cares? just do the suck it taunt by hitting your control stick and hit the guy. Just don't worry about it.
That's right. That was another cool thing too, because if you remember those games, on the 64, so you would play with the D-pad.
Yes, you did play with the D-pad.
And so you would play it almost like a traditional NES or SNES controller, and then you would hit the joystick for your taunt, for
your taunt and your special and all
that. So you would as you're playing, you would just kind of
flick your thumb
down, which is just that controller. What a piece of garbage that controller was.
It's weird. I'm glad they got better at it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So they actually made games that use the D-pad.
They did.
Exactly, yeah.
I also believe Kirby 64 was a D-pad game, right?
I don't know. I don't play Kirby games because
I don't recall. It may have, but
I believe it was. Check me in the comments.
You've been wrong before.
That's right.
once or twice. All right.
Well, guys, why don't you? I mean, anything else you want to add about the gaming in the era, and then we can kind of round out the show here. And Chris, you can tell everybody too where they can find you nowadays and stuff.
Yeah, which is pretty much nowhere. But yeah, I mean, you know, for me, you know, I love these games. You know, people when they think about like their favorite consoles, N64 always comes to mind. It was the first console that I bought with my own money. It was the first console that I just remember having just an extreme love for, even more than the NES and the SNES. It was the 64. And, you know, I love Mario Kart. I love Smash. I love Mario 64. Like, those games are great. But for me, like, my time in the 64 is best wrapped up in Rogue Squadron, and these four wrestling games. Those were the games that I constantly played. And it's funny because the last time I was on this amazing show, we talked about Rogue Squadron, because that is one of my favorite.
Such a great game.
Such a great game. But then then coming back, you know, full circle. So now we're talking about wrestling. And for the record, I asked Jake. I'm like, Jake's like, hey, you know, let me know when you come on. I'm like, I don't care when I come on again. Just know that the only thing that I want to talk about at this point is these wrestling games. So that's it. Yeah. Don't call me unless we're talking about wrestling. And I will definitely be there. Yeah. But yeah, I just, you know, for me, you know, this show is all about nostalgia, right? And so for me, like my college experience started with these wrestling games, and some of the friendships that I even still have today were born around, you know, doing these ladder matches for a title belt against, you know, the music instructor. And there's just something, you know, there's something that like that will never go away, right? And so so they're great. But yeah, I mean, I love being here. You know, I always love being able to come on and talk about, you know, these great games. And you know, I don't get to play a lot of games anymore like I want to. I have way too many kids for that. But like these memories, you know, the memories of these games are just so ingrained in who I am.
Oh yeah.
And these four games are definitely, you know, one of them.
Yep. I love it. Me too. And you mentioned making the friends. Like I said, that's where my nostalgia is tied. It's just having my buddies over and just playing this for hours. And you don't have to know anything about wrestling to love these games. No. You really don't. They're just so stinking fun. And even if you don't know what you're doing, the game is intuitive enough to where, like, you're going to do something and you're going to keep doing it over and over, and you're going to get on somebody's nerves.
It's that shin kick. It's that shin kick.
Yes. Man. Yeah. Will you stop doing that? Will you stop doing that? God. Like, just let me grab you. No, dude, you're going to get close. No. Like,
stop shin kicking me.
And the best thing is, if anybody still has a 64 lying around, these games they're ubiquitous, right? So you always find like your NBA Lives and your NFLs and your Maddens just laying around everywhere. Believe it or not, these wrestling games are everywhere also, because again, this is the height of wrestling when these games came out. So you can go to any Goodwill or secondhand kind of shop that sells 64 games, and I guarantee you will find one of these four, and I guarantee you won't pay more than and you will not pay more than $2, and it will be an excellent game. Like, just grab it. Just grab any of these four. So let me, just for posterity's sake, WCW versus NWO World Tour. WCW NWO Revenge. Okay. WWF WrestleMania 2000 and WWF No Mercy. Those, you'll find them anywhere.
I will say No Mercy. I think it's the last one. It has the most full features, and to be able to create your own pay-per-view card and your own belts, like, it's good. But absolutely, cool. Any of these four games, I need to buy a 64. Crap, I'm gonna have to buy a 64 to play this game. Where's my 64 mini? Dang it!
I have two of them. We need one.
And that's the sad part.
Dude, Jacob, hey, I'll send you my address, man. Just send it over.
Yeah.
Well, you're coming up here to be Ryan with a chair. Just swing on by. So
that's the sad part. A lot of times we do these nostalgia, talk about these games we loved, and we'll tell you, oh yeah, you can pick it up on the eShop now for $5 or. These games will never, ever, ever exist again because of licensing and all of that. So, like, luckily they are everywhere at secondhand shops. So, like,
so sad.
Just enjoy them in their purest form.
Well, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and do our due diligence, brother?
There you go. You got to hit him with a brother.
Sure thing, man. You can find us at our home site, thenintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia. You can also listen to our podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Google Play. You can find us on our Facebook, facebook.com/NintendoNOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. Shoot us an email at NintendoNostalgiaIN@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on our Instagram at NintendoNOSIN. And if you ever want to call into the hotline and let us know of your nostalgic memories, the number is 317-969-5690. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for an awesome episode.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to watch some wrestling now.
Go watch wrestling. Go watch wrestling. Which, by the way, if you guys are interested in this era of wrestling, if you have the WWE Network, it's only $10 a month. You have access to both WWE and WCW pay-per-views and weekly shows.
Right. Yeah,
so you can watch all of this. Yeah. It's awesome for $10.
Well, if you don't want to pay $10, just go to YouTube and
that's also
look up Starcade 1999. All right.
No. Just look up Sting watching people from the rafters. Look that up. And I'm telling you, you just be like, man, this is so cool.
This is going to be like 2 hours. 2 hours of just Sting sitting there.
Just of him standing there with a baseball bat. Which is what he does.
He'll text us those like memes or GIFs in our group sometime. It's just Sting's
just walking from the stands. My favorite one is where Sting's like fighting somebody. And then, because they'll always ask in the chat, where's Tom? And I'll send like Sting in the rafters is what I'll do. But my favorite Sting gif is still where like he comes down and he's beating up somebody and he takes off a Sting mask and it's still Sting like underneath it. Like it's the same one.
Sting under
guys,
Sting.
Wrestling, besides these games, wrestling is awesome. You guys need to watch wrestling.
Wrestling is the worst. Grow up and watch Twilight Zone. But you can play these games.
Cool stuff, guys. Well, thank you so much, Chris, again for coming on. We love having you on, and we will definitely have you back on again one day. We love it.
Oh yeah.
Cool beans, brothers. Well, everyone, have a blessed one. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
We'll see you, brother.
Later.
Perfect.
Oh man, I love it.